No, it's good. It's good. Anyhow, Maimer Tesvav Parak Aleph, and this is very inspiring. It's a very inspiring Maimer. We're coming off of the concept that you have a person might have a complaint that he only did bad things because he associated with bad people and they convinced him to do bad things. We said that that's not an excuse because you shouldn't be associating with bad people. Now we're kind of switching gears over here. We're trying to focus on how lofty a person is, what the essence of a person is. This is a question that comes up all the time, especially when people learn Chassidus. And very often there's a phenomenon that exists when people learn Chassidus that they swallow a lot of terms. I was talking to a Snagish guy the other day, and he said that he was learning, some Litvish guy made a compilation of all of the Kabbalistic concepts, and he's learning through that book. And I spoke to him about it, and I was talking to him, I was like, you know all of the terms, but you don't understand any of them. And he said, you're absolutely right. And he said it with a smile. He didn't mind that he and in a certain sense, Chabad people, I mean, not Chabad people per se, but like people that learn Chassidus, I mean, not to step on anyone, so by and large, Chabad people learn more Chassidus than other kinds of Chassidus, and for some reason it's like a restricted material by a lot of other Chassidus. But people that learn Chassidus, very often they'll take terms and they'll take concepts and they'll take it without dafka thinking about the full extent of what it means to them. And a thing that comes up very often is you ask the question, what are you? You have a nefesh alikis, you have a nefesh bahamas, you have a guf, you have a nefesh chiyunis or a nefesh ativit, or a nefesh ativis, and you have all of these things floating around inside of you. What are you? What are you? And the person thinks, you would think, like Descartes would say, that you think therefore you are. You would think that the person knows what they are, and it's not the kind of thing that gets fleshed out. We're going to discuss that a little bit today. So, a man, as a man, needs to know, or a man in the sense of human, not particularly a man, but like a human needs to know. They're called Adam. And any person who has a skull, who has a brain in their skull, knows. That man is the choicest of all creations that Hashem created, not just of the earthly legions, not just of things which are created in a physical sense, but also of things which are created in a spiritual sense. And the human is the central creation of all creations. Both from the upper creations, which is referring to spiritual entities, and also from lower creations, spiritual and physical entities.
So we're more central than a malach, for example.
We are much more central than a malach. There's a lot of we actually going back a few months when we were learning Basi Lagani, we discussed the concept. It says in the pasuk, "Ran Yachad Keichvi Beker V'Yiru Kol Bnei Elikim," that malachim cannot say shira until the Yidden say shira. Dinei calling the Ram Shabar Kodesh Baruch Hu of Adam Mechlal Him and Bali Gofen Nefesh. All creations that Hashem created, which includes the human, all have two aspects. They have the body and they have the soul. And with this, even though you might think spiritual entities don't have the concept of a body, but no, there is bedakos. We say bedakos in a very refined way. Spiritual entities do have something that you would refer to as a body. So the lower legions are in sync with the upper legions in this regard. Even though the upper legions are distinct from the lower legions, you say that the lower legions Hashem created by combining the four elements of fire, air, water, and earth. The upper legions, Hashem created them with the mixture of only Eish and Ruach. It says that He creates His angels with winds and His ministers or servants with a flame of fire. This is a concept discussed in the Gemara that it says Malachim are more spiritually refined. I don't know if it means to say that Malachim, I mean, whatever it is about Malachim, the point is that they're on a more spiritually refined level, in the same way that you have water and earth are both very physical, corporeal things. You can touch them, you can move them, manipulate them. Not so with wind, or even more so with fire, that they're very spiritual and they're removed from the concept of being of physical manipulation. This is how it is with Malachim. But nevertheless, there is some kind of body and soul for both of the heavenly legions and the earthly legions. That is, that even though Hashem created the heavenly legions with the refined elements of fire and wind, with all of this, they are still possessors of bodies. And the earthly legions, even though we are created, our bodies are created with the mixture of also water and earth. With all of this, we also have souls. But the difference between the heavenly legions and the earthly legions is in our nature. That's what causes the distinction. That's what causes the divide. No, I skipped a line. The nature of the heavenly legions is that their form prevails over their matter. That's why it's very Chakira terminology. The Rambam uses it in Hilchos Yisei Atera when he's discussing concepts of Ma'aser Merkava, Ma'aser Bereishis. We're going to discuss a little bit more. The nature of earthly legions is that, as in the nature of our creation, is that the matter takes precedence over the form. I wonder how they translate it as substance. They translate it as substance. Chaymer means what you made out of. Tzur means the form that it takes. But I'm gonna try to go through this. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. But it would be nice to be able to discuss Chaymer and Tzur a little bit, whatever. Anyhow, the body and the soul, they receive from each other, and they're fit for each other. That is to say, so even though the soul and the body are in their nature opposites from each other, because the soul is spiritual and the body is physical, and physical and spiritual in what they are essentially are opposed. What do they say? Diametrically opposed. They don't work together. That's really, it should be that they don't work together, but they do work together. With that divide, nevertheless, the soul and the body are able to receive from each other, and they're fit for each other. This is one of the wondrous things, that he was complete in his understanding of Hashem, that he's blessed and exalted, that he created in the creation from Yesh Me'ayin. When he created things from nothing to something, he connected he connected them. That it's something that's only for Hashem that he could do, that he can do wonders, and he could take spirituality and physicality and he could connect them in such a way that they receive from each other and that they're fit for each other, as though they were one entity at the beginning of their creation in their essence. And that's why the body the soul and the body are called light and vessel. Because the body, the soul is light and the body is a vessel. I'm trying to go through this as quickly as possible so I can try to explain a little bit at the end. Because if I try to explain like now in the middle, we're just not going to be able to finish.
No, I know. I'm holding back questions.
That's good. The body of a person, Hashem changed it from the way that Hashem normally creates things, the way that He created the bodies of other creations. Because all of the creations, when Hashem said whatever it is that He said to create them, immediately the body was created and the soul went into the body and it started walking around, and it was able to go out onto the face of the earth. Like on the third day when Hashem said that that vegetation should come forth, that He said grass with seeds and trees with fruits fruit trees that make fruits, all for their species, which have their seeds inside of them. It should be on the land, and it was so. So it's Hashem brought them all forth, and they all had the soul which causes them to grow within them immediately. And this is also how it is with the living creatures that came out of the land. They came out of the land when they were alive, and also the water. It says directly that the water should give forth things with spirits of life, and the birds and fish, whatever, were created from water. Birds from whatever. The point of fish were created from water. They were created alive, and animals were created alive. Hashem created the physical along with the spiritual. He created the body along with the soul. That when the animals came out of the ground, when the animals were created, the beginning of their creation was that they were a living animal. That was when they were created. That's what it was. Hashem took. He used physically. He created them physically. He also created them spiritually. The creations took place one alongside the other. This is not so with the creation of man. Hashem changed the creation of man from every other entity that He created. He initially created the body itself. Dirt from the ground without any soul of life inside of him. And it says, that Hashem formed the man, dirt from the ground. Initially, he was a form, just a form. And then he blew into his nostril the breath of life. That is to say, that his body left the ground without the spirit of life in him. There was first the body, and then Hashem gave it a spirit of life. Because Hashem initially created the body, and He created it from the matter which is most coarse and unrefined, which is daemon, which is unmovable objects. Initially, we were just statues, a body created out of dirt, a very cool high-tech body maybe, but nothing going on. It was just daemon. Animals at the beginning of their creation, they were animals. Plants at the beginning of their creation, they were plants. Humans at the beginning of our creation, we were originally dirt. There was no point. There was no point at which animals were dirt. There was that's what their bodies were made out of. But there was never a point in their existence where there was this is just the body of an animal. There was always this is an animal. Humans, Hashem created the human. And only after the human was created, where really our bodies are daemon. Our bodies are, in a sense, the lowest of the low. Because our bodies are daemon. Our bodies are things which can't speak, are things which can't move, things which have no life, things which don't change. Our bodies have as much life, be'etzem, as far as the body goes, as much as a rock. It doesn't grow, all of these things happen because of the neshama. Hashem put the neshama into the body. But without that, our body is just a daemon. This is what it means when it says dirt from the ground. That it was a form without any life. Which is a great level of lowliness for humans as opposed to other creations. Because with the fact that everything was from the ground, so, even though other animals were created from the ground, but the way that they were formed is that their bodies and their souls emerge as one. And the human was originally a form, and then afterwards Hashem blew a soul of life into it. We need to understand. Remember, this is only the first lesson of Maimon, and this is part of Hamshach. It's part of Kuntreis. I don't know if you call it Hamshach, but we need to understand. Why did Hashem change the way that He created the bodies of people from the way that He created the bodies of everything else? Seemingly, this change is for the worse. This change is a detriment to us. Because all other creations in the Yeshua, even though they were created from dirt, Ibn Avalusim, maybe some Gilin, they never had to see, there was never a time that it could be appreciated that they were a lifeless form. Rather, their entire existence, they only existed as what they are, as animals. They only existed while their souls and their bodies were together. But humans, at the beginning of the creation of the human, you were able to see that the human is a lifeless form. And you were able to point to, this is a human. Hashem created a human. That's what Hashem created a gelam, and then He put a spirit of life into it, and then it became a human. He created a human. The human was Pasha, a gelam sitting on the floor, doing nothing, with no life, with no nothing, literally a rock. And after that, I skipped line. Yeah, and only after that, only after the human is sitting there like a rock, Hashem is able to blow into the human a soul of life, a spirit of life. After this, the human is still the choicest of all creations. We started at the beginning that it's very apparent. He doesn't prove it. This is the kind of thing you take on. I mean, you could prove it. You could go through and why humans are really the choicest of all creations. If you want to say Samach, you can try to do all that. The point over here is to tell us about how to take care of tightness. The point over here isn't for lumdus and chassidus. So he says at the beginning of the Maimer that it's obvious. Proof by it's obvious, which is not really satisfying. But proof by it's obvious. Humans are the choicest of all creations. How is it possible the choicest of all creations that that humans are the choicest of all creations, even though it's notwithstanding the fact that we are the choicest of creations, we have this backstory that we are the lowest of the low. Any questions?
If we're the choice, like if we're the top, why is Hashem created so that other animals are able to overpower us and sometimes attack us or eat us, like a shark attack, for example? Like a shark just eats such a lowly animal.
Firstly, I would say that of all animals, I would say fish are more spiritually refined. They're in the water. They don't.
Good.
Not sharks. I really don't like sharks.
So, I'm sorry that you have a fear of sharks or something like that. There's a concept that's actually discussed that animals actually do not have the ability to harm humans until a human does something that makes them like an animal. As we said at the beginning, when you do an avera, you're making yourself in a sense worse than an animal. We said the concept of yatish kablanach, that when you do an avera, at least the animals are going with their nature, etc. But for us, we should know better, etc. When a human does something that makes them worse than an animal, that's when the animal gets the ability to harm the person. It's in Chumash Bereshis, it discusses that Cain was afraid to go out into the world afterwards because he said, until now, humans were able to walk around and we had no reason to fear from animals. Now that I've done an avera, I've committed mass genocide because technically he killed 1/3 of all humans. After he's done such a grievous avera, all the animals could hurt him now. So Hashem reinstated the sign that humans have. There are stories with tzaddikim. There's a famous story that there was once a rabbi who was going to collect money for his community or something like that. He went to a certain port, I think maybe Akko, but I'm not sure, and there was a sultan there, and the sultan had a zoo, and a lion escaped from the zoo, and the lion was walking in the streets and was eating people and terrorizing people, and tzaddik walked up to the lion, grabbed him by the ear, and brought it back to the zoo, and the king was like, how can you do that? And he explained this whole concept, and the king gave him all the money that he needed for his community, and Shalom al Yisrael. Kain Rabbis. So it's it's a point, and humans, in the nature of what a human is, be'etzem, humans shouldn't be able to be harmed by animals. However, if a person lowers himself to lower than an animal, then the animal is no reason why he shouldn't attack the human. The point is, be a tzaddik gomer, you have no reason to be afraid of sharks. Any other questions?
No, go ahead.
We're going to discuss this concept more over the next few days.